They rang the bell like they belonged there. Two men in police uniforms stood at the side entrance of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in the early hours of March 18, 1990. Outside, Boston's St. Patrick's Day celebrations were winding down into silence. The streets were quiet. The fog hung heavy in the air. Inside the museum, only two young security guards were working the night shift. When the so-called officers said they were responding to a disturbance, no one questioned it. One of the guards buzzed them in. That single decision would unleash one of the greatest unsolved crimes in modern history. They didn't hesitate. Within minutes, the uniformed strangers had overpowered both guards, guns drawn. Calm, professional, efficient. The guards were bound with duct tape and handcuffed in the basement. From that moment on, there were no witnesses, no alarms, no interruptions, only time. Time to pull off the largest art heist the world had ever seen. 81 minutes. That's all it took. Inside the museum's hushed corridors, the intruders moved with chilling precision. They weren't frantic. They weren't rushed. They knew what they were after. They entered the Dutch room and began their work. Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, the only known seascape by the master, was sliced from its frame like meat from bone. A Lady and Gentleman in Black, another Rembrandt gone. Vermeer's The Concert, one of the rarest and most valuable paintings on earth, disappeared without a trace. A Gauvaert Flink, 5 sketches by Degas. Manet's Chez Tortoni, a Chinese bronze beaker from the 12th century BC, a Napoleonic eagle finial. They took what they wanted and left behind only questions. They ignored far more valuable works. They passed by Michelangelo, Botticelli, Raphael. The paintings they stole weren't just priceless, they were personal. Each one had been hand-picked by Isabella Stewart Gardner herself, a woman of eccentric taste, vision, and power. She built her museum not as a gallery, but as a living testament to beauty, travel, and story. Her will decreed that nothing inside its walls should ever be moved or changed. And so when the thieves cut her treasures from their frames, they didn't just steal objects, they desecrated a soul. Outside, the night was still. The city slept. And when the thieves left just before 3 a.m., no one saw them go. They'd made 2 trips to their vehicle, likely a red Dodge Daytona, but by the time the guards were found and the police were called, the culprits had vanished. No fingerprints, no DNA, no cameras had recorded them. The only clues were the duct tape, the handcuffs, and the hollow silence of the walls where masterpieces once hung. The morning after, Boston woke to a different city. Headlines screamed. Museum staff and patrons wept. Experts called it a cultural catastrophe. The total value of the stolen works exceeded $500 million. Today, those same pieces would be worth over $1.2 billion, but the damage couldn't be measured in money. It was something deeper, like the severing of a limb. The empty frames, which still hang in their original places, are not just placeholders. They are wounds. The FBI launched its investigation immediately. Art theft was not common, not at this scale. But Boston in 1990 was a city simmering with criminal energy. The mafia wars were peaking. Turf battles, drug trafficking, and assassinations were spilling into every corner of the underworld. The feds suspected that the heist wasn't just a robbery, it was a message, a flex of power. But from whom? Dozens of suspects emerged. None were charged. Some were murdered before they could be questioned. Others died of overdoses, car crashes, or bullets. The trail was hot until it wasn't. The artworks vanished like smoke. Not one piece has been recovered to this day. Years passed, leads went cold, but the mystery only grew. The museum offered a $1 million reward, then $5 million, now $10 million. Still nothing. Tip lines rang with theories, fantasies, lies. Some claimed the paintings were in vaults beneath Sicilian mansions. Others said they hung in the homes of New England mob bosses. One lead traced them to the Middle East. another to South America. None panned out, and yet every few years, new whispers surface. A fragment, a photograph, a rumor. In 2013, the FBI made a stunning announcement. They claimed to know who committed the crime. Two men tied to the Boston Mafia, both dead, no arrests, no evidence presented, just a declaration and more silence. The museum, bound by Gardner's will, has never replaced the stolen works. The rooms remain frozen in time, frozen in grief. Visitors stand in front of the empty frames, imagining what once was. Some cry, some ask why, some just stare. The heist has become more than a crime. It's a legend, a riddle with no answer, and for those who study it, obsess over it, chase its ghosts, it is a lifelong pursuit. The kind of mystery that burrows into your mind and refuses to let go. Was it the work of seasoned criminals or desperate amateurs? Was it revenge? Was it a trade? Were the paintings destroyed, or are they still out there, hidden, waiting? No one knows, but someone does. And that, perhaps, is the most haunting part of all. Because somewhere out there, maybe in Boston, maybe in Brazil, maybe buried deep in a European vault, someone knows exactly what happened that night. Someone knows how two men in fake police uniforms walked into a museum and stole the soul of a city. And they've kept that secret for 35 years. Time has passed, but the mystery refuses to fade. 35 years have come and gone, yet the frames remain empty, untouched, like monuments to a theft that rewrote the rules of art crime. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum stands as a shrine to the stolen. The visitors still come, more now than ever, but they don't just come for what hangs on the walls. They come for what's missing. They come for the ghosts. The FBI never stopped looking, at least not entirely. They launched Norjack-style databases, ran international sting operations, interviewed informants behind closed doors, and surveilled suspects across continents. In the early 2000s, they tracked some of the missing artwork to Philadelphia. Whispers of a transaction, glimpses of a canvas, trails that led to dark alleys and dead ends. By 2003, they believed at least some of the art had changed hands, likely more than once, but again, it slipped away. They've had names, they've had theories. Carmine Romano, Carmelo Merlino, Robert Gentile, James Whitey Bulger, Bobby Donati. Some were enforcers, some were smugglers. Some were corpses before the agents even knocked on their doors. One by one, the suspects died. One by one, the answers died with them. The few who lived long enough to be questioned swore they knew nothing. Some even offered to help recover the paintings for the right price. But in the underworld, truth is a weapon rarely shared. In 2010, the FBI suffered a crushing blow. Duct tape and handcuffs collected from the scene, critical pieces of physical evidence, had been misplaced, lost before they could be tested for DNA. The only hope of identifying the thieves through biological evidence disappeared into a bureaucratic black hole. Meanwhile, advancements in forensic science surged forward. Genealogical DNA cracked cold cases across the country, but for the Gardner theft, that door closed before it was ever opened. And then came the video. A grainy surveillance clip discovered decades later showed something odd. The night before the heist, one of the guards, Richard Abath, appeared to let an unidentified man into the museum after hours. A breach of protocol, a coincidence, or something far darker. Abath claimed he didn't remember the incident. He said he was just a college kid, stoned on the job. He passed a polygraph. He swore he was innocent, and maybe he was. But the timing is impossible to ignore. The footage left more questions than answers. The museum's reward remains the largest ever offered for a private art recovery. $10 million, no questions asked. Immunity is on the table, amnesty from prosecution. All they want is the art back. But that carrot has brought no one forward. Not a whisper, not a signal, not a single stroke of paint recovered. Some say the paintings were destroyed. that they were rolled too tightly, lost to mildew, cut from their frames only to rot in storage. Others say they're hidden in the walls of a villa in Sicily or locked in the basement of a cartel mansion in Colombia. There's a theory that a private collector paid for them, someone with so much money and power that the paintings may never be seen again. Art trapped in a gilded prison, beauty buried under greed. And what about the museum itself? Bound by Isabella's will, the Gardner cannot replace what's gone. No replicas, no substitutions, just the frames, silent, waiting. The Dutch room is the heart of the crime scene, its ornate walls missing their Rembrandts and Vermeers. Tour guides pause here, voices lower. Some visitors cry, some stand frozen for minutes. Children ask where the paintings went. Adults struggle to answer. In this room, history itself is on trial. The paintings are more than pigment on canvas. They are fragments of human achievement, moments where genius reached beyond time. The concert by Vermeer is gone. Only 36 of his paintings are known to exist. One, arguably the most breathtaking, is missing. Perhaps forever. How does the world grieve what it cannot see? And still the search continues. FBI agents comb auction sites, monitor dark web forums, trace the ripple of money through shell companies and offshore accounts. The Gardner Museum operates like a detective bureau, receiving tips, verifying claims, chasing shadows. Once a lead came from a New Jersey mob widow, once from an ex-priest. Each time the same result: silence. In 2021, Robert Gentile died. A low-level mobster in Connecticut, he was long suspected of having knowledge of the stolen art. The FBI raided his home twice. They found nothing. He insisted until the end he knew nothing. But many believe he was the last living person to have held even a sliver of the truth. The public remains fascinated. Netflix launched a docuseries in 2021. New books come every year. Gardner-themed podcasts dive into conspiracy theories, secret codes, and dead men's diaries. Every few months, a new expert claims to have cracked the case. And every few months, the frames remain just as empty. The mystery has become myth. The thieves have become legends. In a world obsessed with answers, the Gardner heist stands as a monument to the unknown. It's a reminder that not all crimes are solved, that sometimes the perfect crime is real, that sometimes two men in uniforms can walk into a palace and erase masterpieces without leaving a trace. But it's more than a mystery. It's a wound, a living scar on Boston's cultural soul. And for the Gardner Museum, it's a promise. They will not stop. Not until every painting returns, not until Isabella's vision is whole again. So if you're out there, if you know something, this isn't just about justice. It's about redemption. It's about beauty stolen and the world that still mourns its loss. Bring the art home. Tell the truth. And end the silence that began on a quiet March night in 1990 when two men rang a bell and walked into history.